There are many roles of being a coach. One of them is being a friend. A friend is someone who's supportive, motivating, trustworthy, and someone who you respect in different ways. A benefit of a coach being a friend could be that they could keep you calm, such as an archery coach keeping the athlete relaxed before a competition, which would help their performance as they would have better composure. Also, another positive could be that athletes will listen better, like when a rugby coach is talking to the team about tactics and the players will focus more out of respect. This can lead to more success in games as they will have a clearer understanding of what they will need to do. It could be more enjoyable for athletes if they build a friendship with the coach because they can then use humour in things like training so it doesn't get tedious. This will mean players will show more interest in the sport and will hopefully be more motivated to improve. However, if they have too much human training and mess around, then it could affect the team or athlete's performance in games and competition as they have not worked hard enough or practiced for it. Another disadvantage could be that the coaches may be biased. For example, a football coach might choose players for the starting team based on who they like the most so they don't hurt their feelings, which could mean that the team might not be playing their strongest players. Furthermore, legality could be an issue in some cases, such as if an adult swimming coach was friends with their under fives team, then they would have to be careful with what they say and how they support them, as there are some risks of being accused of misconduct towards the children. Another role of a coach could be a role model. A role model should inspire people, show good behaviours and attitudes to everyone, might be talented at something, be someone who people look up to, and to be a good person. These are some of the key factors of what a role model is, and that can have lots of benefits and disadvantages. One of the benefits is they could keep the athletes motivated by making them determined. For example, a boxing coach could give the athlete a pep talk to increase their adrenaline and drive to win. Also, athletes will have more respect for the coach if they are a role model. So if a basketball player who wanted to be like their coach who was an ex-pro, then they wouldn't mess around and would do what they were told to improve. This will mean players will focus more on performing better, which will lead to future success. Another advantage is that the coach can show players how to have a sportsmanship and etiquette, like if a football coach taught players not to argue with the referee or the opponents, then it would show them how to behave in games, which would help stop things like yellow and red cards and less fouls. On the other hand, it can make some athletes nervous because if a tennis player looked up to their coach and didn't want to let them down, then they may feel scared about doing something wrong, which could make it harder for them to play and could also affect how well they're improving and training. Also, a role model would have to be careful as they could end up putting athletes off the sport because if a coach were to take drugs or do something bad, then it might cause players to not like the sport as they may lose motivation and someone to look up to help them keep trying. Another problem of role model as a coach could be that it could get too personal with athletes, as if a gymnastic coach shouted at a child for getting something wrong, then they would feel more upset for annoying someone who they aspired to be like. An innovator is someone who's creative, thinks of new ideas, and creates ways of fixing problems to make things easier. This could be important to coach in many ways, such as it could help making training less tedious for athletes. For example, if an innovative American football coach thought of new drills that made training more enjoyable for players, then they would be more engaged in training, meaning they would improve faster, and it would help them in games as they will be working harder as they won't get bored and lose concentration in training. Being an innovator could also help to improve weaknesses that teams or athletes have. For example, if a hockey coach sees that the team isn't scoring many goals, then they could think of training methods which will help to get players shooting better to help the team get more goals, which will lead to more wins. A positive of being an innovator could also be that the coach could work out how to train correctly in order to get the best results for games or events. For example, if an athletics coach changes training to a Thursday because there's a competition on the weekend, so the athlete has more time to recover and get more energy. This is an example of how coaches can fix problems to get the best outcome. However, some new ideas may not work. For example, a badminton coach may set up new drills that doesn't help to improve the athlete's performance, so could potentially just waste time and mean that the player has more weaknesses or just stays at the same level of performance. Also, some athletes find it hard to adapt to new training methods as it may push them out of their comfort zones or it might just get too complicated for them to understand. This could cause the players to either lose interest in the sport or to make them fall behind compared to other athletes because they're not training well enough to improve. Another disadvantage could be that the coach may push athletes too far with new ideas. For example, a running coach might set up a fitness drill to improve the athlete's performance, but might not take into account the athlete's physical abilities, so it could cause them to work too hard and be in pain afterwards. This could easily lead to the athletes going off the sport if they're not enjoying it. The last role of a coach is a motivator. A motivator is someone who should keep you determined on getting better, gives you advice on anything if you don't know how to succeed, makes you work harder to reach your goal, and is there for you when you feel like you can't do something or are struggling to keep going. One way this can be useful for a coach is when they need to get their adrenaline going. For example, an MMA coach would want to do this with the athlete in training before a fight and even during the fight to make sure that they are trying their hardest and help to feel less pain. This could also link to the point that it could help keep athletes determined to enhance their performance and to have a positive attitude. This could be done by a coach by saying encouraging things and sometimes even shouting to make the athlete push as hard as they can to help them know that they are doing well in order to make sure they want to keep trying. A motivational coach can also help the athletes keep engaged in the sport if they're finding it a bit tedious or aren't showing grit. A rounders coach could do this by changing training sessions to make it more fun for the players whilst still training effectively, which would help the team stay focused on the sport without finding it boring. This will give the players the motivation that they need and will make the team improve. On the negative side, it could actually demotivate the players if the coach is too full on. For example, if a weightlifting coach shouted too much and didn't allow the athlete to have enough breaks, then they might get fed up and annoyed with the coach, causing the athlete to become demotivated and stop working as hard, or it could make them stop weightlifting entirely because they didn't like how they were treated. Another thing could be that it can make athletes anxious in some situations, like if a coach was trying to increase adrenaline by shouting, it could put pressure on the athlete and make them feel nervous about a competition or games and could mean that their performance isn't as good as it could have been. Then, finally, athletes might rely on their coach too much and make them their only source of motivation. For example, if a golf coach couldn't make it to a competition and the athlete normally gets their coach to ease their nerves, then it would mean that the player might have a bad game as they would lose determination to win and instead might just put themselves into a bad mood as they will lose hope.